Yeah, welcome to this tutorial in which I'd like to show you how to get your documents signed from Glide using DocsAutomator eSign and using the native DocsAutomator integration in Glide. I do this in a reversed order today. Usually I demo things first and then I show the result. Today we start with the result. I have created this simple Glide app here where I have a button and I can say send signing request. I click on this one, and this basically now initiates the signing process, creates a document, adds signing placeholders to it. We're going to see that in a bit because we get a signing URL here. There we go. Now we can open this. This opens DocsAutomator signing page. I agree to this, and then I can jump to my signing tags here. We're going to have a look at the template in a bit. I add the date, I add a signature, and then I complete this. And now basically we capture the signed document in Glide, and there we go. We have the signed document here. Let me zoom in a bit and let me close this on the side. We see the certificate page on the last side. We see the signature that we've added just now, etc. So how do we do this? Let's look into it. Let's start in DocsAutomator. I've created this automation here. Of course, set Glide as my data source, and then I've added this template. We're using this DocsAutomator DPA template here. And on here, you find these new signing tags and basically signing variables where we see the name, text variable that the signee fills out, a date, and then the signature box itself. You also find a helper here on the right side under e-signature fields. I've also added a variable here called email to pass the email of the signee. We see that in a bit because there's something else that we're doing with that one. And then we have a client name, we have a client address and date. The only other thing two other things we have to set here. First, under 3, I have hidden the email variable. There's a setting here called always hide because we actually don't want to print that email. We just need it as data basically in order to grab it later on. And then we need to set things up here under number 5, additional actions. Let's start with e-signatures first. We enable this. I show you the links only mode because it's a bit more complicated because we have to capture the signing link in Glide as well. And then you could distribute that link in any way you want. A bit easier would be sending via email. Then you don't need to capture the link. The link is then sent via email to your recipient, basically via the email variable that we've seen before. So I select this here as the email and then the name is just the client name. That's all we want to set here for now. Last thing is we want to notify a webhook. This is now very, very important because for this in Glide, you need, if we go to workflows, the webhook trigger. And here we get a URL. So I can copy this here and then the webhook URL is basically just this Glide URL. 2 events sent to this webhook with DocsAutomator eSign. One is once signing is initiated, we get data being sent to that webhook, and when signing is completed. So basically exactly those 2 events that we saw before. We got the signing link, we opened the link, we filled everything out, we signed, and then we got the signed document, basically another event being sent to that webhook address. That's all we have to set up here in DocsAutomator. Of course, you take your own template, you adjust it, you generate previews for that template, etc. But this should give you a basic overview of what's involved. The rest is now to be done inside of Glide. Oh wait, last thing, this is now in test mode still. So you can always test also e-signing until you're happy. You've seen it before already. You get like some warnings. This is in test mode on the signing page. Also, there are watermarks on the document. So once you're happy, you basically go into live mode here. The rest now happens in Glide. We've looked at the layout quickly. I'm gonna remove the data for a moment. So now this is empty again. It's basically just one workflow to capture everything. No, let me start on the button here. The signing request is actually just sent with a DocsAutomator action, just the button action. I've added the template ID, the file name, and then I filled out the variables. So if you're familiar with how DocsAutomator works, you add these key value pairs. The keys you find basically in your template. We had a date variable there, client name, client address, and then the email. And that's about it. For this, we actually also wouldn't need to define the output because we don't want to store the first PDF. Not necessarily. You can, of course, if you want to. So this is how we pass the initial data, basically. And the rest is then happening in this DocsAutomator signing workflow that I've set up here. We capture the webhook. I've added this address inside of Notify webhook in the DocsAutomator automation. And then we have to do a bunch of things. The first is here we always set the request body from the trigger, and we query JSON, and we query the status. The status you get back on the webhook basically pending or completed, and you will see that we differentiate here further down because that's basically what tells us whether this is the signing has been initiated or is completed. And we can also check. Let me see one of the first run here, so we can see that we have the JSON body status is pending here. So in here we say status is pending, and then we set the signing link. Otherwise, we say it's completed, and then we store the completed PDF. The second thing we query here is the signing link. So the signing link, there can be multiple links. So this is a list of links. Here you see, here's body, and then you see signing links, and then 0, first item here, has signing link on it. So the query in this case, let me go out of it. The query in this case is signing links, square bracket 0 dot signing link is basically how we get the signing link out of this. Then we need to identify our row in Glide. I've done this with the client name. So you've seen that we have added a variable called client underscore name. And for that, I'm basically passing here our name of this row in Glide called company F in this case. So here I'm pulling that name, and then I use this calculated query here in order to identify that row in Glide. So I go to the companies table, that's where my data is, and then I say where name is row name. Now we have everything that we need. Now we can differentiate between the two conditions. One is the status is pending. Then we basically set the signing link to the signing link, basically this query here, or we say it's completed. Then we set the we need to query one more thing, which is the signed PDF URL, again just on the body. We didn't have that on we don't always have that basically, so I've only queried this here called signed PDF URL, and then we save this one as the signed document. And in the layout, this is what the web embed basically is pointing to in the end. That's the entire flow. As I said before, you can simplify this a bit by letting DocsAutomator send the emails. Then you wouldn't necessarily need to store the signing link. Then you would have just basically one set of actions here without the conditionals here in the end. But I wanted to show you the whole thing basically to get you equipped to be ready for any signing situation. What I didn't do is multiple signers, so you might have multiple signers on it. In that case, you would not only pull the 0 signing link here, you would also pull 1, 2, depending on how many signers you have on your document. I hope this gave you an overview of what's involved using getting documents signed via the native DocsAutomator integration in Glide. If you're confused, if you need help, please reach out anytime. And for now, I wish you happy automating.